eat the meat and spit out the bones. I see a lot of people that make the logical fallacy of an ad hominem attack when someone is making a claim. You know, just because you don't like the person, the delivery, or the rationale doesn't mean that the argument is incorrect, or doesn't mean that the substance or the conclusion that the argument leads to is necessarily correct or incorrect. Let me elaborate on that. Just because you don't like the person, that would be an ad hominem attack, or the delivery, or the rationale. The delivery, that would be a straw man. You know, you're that's the straw man. That's a logical fallacy. You don't like the rationale. That's a logical fallacy. I actually call it the fallacy. So because there was a flaw in this person's syllogism or logical tree, their logic tree was flawed, their reasoning was flawed, whether it's the premise or how it would lead to the conclusion. Just because it was flawed doesn't mean that the conclusion itself is incorrect. And if a person were to make that claim, they would be committing a logical fallacy. The fallacy. It doesn't matter if who's saying whatever it is. If Adolf Hitler said that, just insert fact, scientific fact that we all agree to be true. If they said that, they would be correct. It doesn't matter who it is, and it's kind of funny because that argument, that fallacious argument has been used so much that they've dubbed it as its own fallacy, the Hitler fallacy. So, it doesn't matter who's saying it. If it's good advice, if it's just take the good parts, throw away the bullshit. It's like another thing that people do is they make the false assumption that the recitation of facts is any indication on the person's beliefs or ideology. So, for example, if I were to say that gender roles have a biological basis, right? Just disregard whether or not that fact is true or not, but I'm just using this as an example. If a person were to say that gender roles have a biological origin, that doesn't necessarily mean that that person is saying that they believe that traditional gender roles, should be enforced in modern society, and that different sexes should have different rights in society. That's not at all similar. That's a total, complete straw man argument. The recitation of facts has no indication on a person's belief. The claim should be judged on its own merits, not by the merits of the person making the claim, not by the merits of the group that the person belongs to or whatever. That's how logic works. That's how rational skepticism works. The claim has to be falsifiable. It means it has to be able to be proven wrong. Otherwise, it's ineligible. It's unable to be used as, any type of empirical evidence, scientific evidence, because science doesn't work in, we know 100% this is proven. That's not how science works. You know, it's not how we figure out whether something is likely true or not. So, doesn't matter what group said it. Oh, you know, this group says that, so I can't say that. I can't believe this because my group doesn't allow that. That's another thing. You know, this concept of descriptive versus prescriptive. You know, I think anytime that your core ideology can be summed up by prescription or prescriptive doctrine, I think that's a pretty bad idea as far as if you want to become a rational thinker, critical thinker, a skeptic, because basically you're starting off with answers that can't be questioned instead of questions that you're trying to answer. So in other words, something like a religion. Like religion, it's just absolute doctrine. It's commands. Do that. Don't do this, with no reason, no rationale behind it. Or something like a science or, scientific method. It's complete. First of all, it has to be able to be falsified. It forms tentative conclusions that are updated with new information, new data to, form models that basically says this is likely to be this way. This is likely to be that way. That's the thing with like identity politics and virtue signaling. That's kind of like this cart before the horse type of thinking. Because you belong to this group, this tribe that has this set of doctrines that you have to follow, so you're not allowed to think critically and analyze the claims and the evidence and the data individually to form your own conclusion. It's like, how does that work? That's the thing. Prescriptive versus descriptive. The thing I just described, that was prescriptive. It's a command. When something else like the dictionary, that's descriptive. Though people always like to say, "Oh man, that's not a word, man. It's not in the dictionary." Well, to even make such a statement, you misunderstand what a dictionary is. The dictionary simply describes the usage, the common usage of words. If enough people use a certain word in a certain context, then it's in a dictionary. It goes in a dictionary. It's not some prescriptive authority that says this is a word, this isn't a word, this is how you must use this word. No. It's a complete misunderstanding of the function of dictionaries. But, this cart before horse thinking, you're cherry picking the evidence and the data to fit your already pre-selected conclusion. That's not a way to truth. That's not the way to truth. Because literally any person with any claim can do that. And if that is possible, then that is a logical contradiction. So which means it's necessarily wrong. Because those two mutually exclusive claims can't both simultaneously be true. That's why you don't start with the cart before the horse type of thinking, the I belong to this group, I listen to this doctrine, the entirety of all my core beliefs can be summed up by this one preset set of rules, I guess, and commands and things that I can do, things that I'm not allowed to do. I don't really understand that. You know, how about you just go out there, put your best foot forward logically, and rationally, and let the chips fall where they may. That would be more like you don't start with a conclusion that you try to prove by cherry picking evidence. You just go out there and discover. That's what science does. And again, I know it might sound like you know, I hear people saying, "Oh man, you dick riding science." Dick riding science. Dick riding, the single most reliable method to discerning reality. Dick riding. By simply endorsing the use of said method. That is dick riding. That's interesting. But yeah, man. If that's dick riding, man, if that's again going back to definitions, going back to the use of language. It doesn't really matter what the word is. It matters that two or more people agree upon this word in this context. If that's how you're using that word, that's not how I'm using that word. But, I don't do this because of my group says not to do it. I'm a this, so I can't believe this. Like, how the fuck does that work? That's just a misunderstanding of fucking epistemology. Like, how does that? You belong to said group, so you're not allowed to believe something? That's not how belief works. You're either convinced or you're not. You can be convinced for good reasons, but I mean, being allowed, that's not really, like, again, going back to language. If we were to actually try to construct a one-to-one, translation of what they're saying to what I think they mean, basically what they're saying is, we don't want you to think a certain way. We don't want you to express that difference in thought or opinion, because once you express those difference of thought, once you have that freedom of thought, then that freedom of thought spreads, and now other people have some freedom of thought, and those two ideas mix and mingle, and they form new ideas, and when those new ideas form other ideas and ask questions, why the hell am I following this guy with this big hat? Why am I doing what he tells me to do? Why? That's the thing. Why? That question, that innate human curiosity. Why? That's what science is. Things like religion, they try desperately, kicking and screaming, to try to suppress that innate human curiosity. But they fail miserably every time. Despite, there's a lot of religious people, but this is just my 2 cents. I think a lot of religious people, they don't actually believe in what they say or what they claim to believe. I think they believe in believing. I think they believe that belief is a good thing to proclaim socially. I think they believe that society, I think that they think that it's necessary to promote religion to uphold the structure of society. And they couldn't be further from the truth, because I also think that there's nothing that religion does or offers that couldn't be done better via secular means. Because again, that goes back to the have a good reason for believing something. The truth is going to be the truth. You could, The truth has no fear from investigation, but a lie does. You know, a claim with no substantiation needs the song and dance, the bells and whistles, you know the cognitive biases, the logical fallacies, the abuse, the violence to uphold its prominence, because it stands on nothing. The truth stands on itself. Whatever that is. I'm not saying the truth, like capital T, sounding like a fucking conspiracy theory, or some whatever the fuck. I don't know. I'm talking about literally, the actual, truth. Something that comports with reality. That's what I mean. I hope I didn't lose anybody there. Think I'm a fucking a nutcase, I think I'm fucking insane. No. But yeah, man. That's don't use circle logic, man. Don't start with a conclusion that you try to cherry pick with evidence. Cherry pick the evidence to try to fit your conclusion, and go into every claim and every facet of life with an open mind, and try to use logic and reason to come to your conclusions and try to have a accurate perception of reality, because the more accurate your perception of reality is, the more informed your decisions can be. Yeah.